Hello, hello, good morning, and happy hump day. It's Wednesday, May the 21st. You are tuned in to the Ted Manila Information Show, or TMI for short, because we do bring you way too much information. I am Manila Chan. That over there is the Ted Rall. And of course, today we're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff, but primarily this Biden cancer gate, or is it BidenGate? I call it cancer gate, Ted. What is it? Wait, now you're
BidenGate.
muted. There
No,
you
I'm
are.
not. No, no. I think Biden. I think BidenGate, because there's a cancer gate, there's a brain gate, and there's all the Biden crime family gates. So we just have to sort of have an overarching term because there's probably we're probably going to find out other stuff like Commander Gate. So many
Poor
other
dog.
things.
Can
Yeah.
we call it ball
By the way,
gate?
we now know why Biden was abusing the dog, right? I mean, he was senile. And he was a mean old cuss, and he was kicking the dog. I mean, we know he was kicking the dog, that he was witness to
Do
kicking the dog.
we know that?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's a dog kicker.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's actually just. I mean, honestly, I love animals, so I would have no problem sending him to prison for that alone.
Oh, for sure.
If you kick your dog, you're worthless.
On our old show, when we were talking about the dog Commander, was his name.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love animals too. I'm more of a dog person over cats, but I like cats too. But remember, I said specifically that dogs are a reflection of their owner, and
of course,
if the dogs feel threatened or scared or whatever, then they're going to be more bitey. I mean, of course, some dogs are, just like people, they're kind of shit ass dogs, and they might be a little asshole. But, but for the most part, dogs are a reflection of their owner. And if their owner is a mean jerk, the dog is going to be a mean jerk. So,
yeah, or just in response because it's being abused by the mean jerk owner. Yeah.
So
the animals are extremely sensitive, especially when they're kind of in captivity, which pets are in captivity, and they're very dependent upon their owners. And so they're like, if their owner isn't a benevolent dictator, things turn ugly.
Poor Commander. The final straw was when he bit the Secret Serviceman.
Over and over. Dozens of times.
Jeez, that's awful.
I think we should just feed Biden to Commander and be done with it. Like, Commander, it's your lucky day.
I know. Oh, gross. Yeah, but Ted, for the same reason,
don't feed him for like 3 days.
For the same reason that you don't want to eat diseased meat, you don't want to give Commander.
No, that's true. Meat. That's true. I mean, he could get like all sorts of, brain essence. I can never pronounce that.
Poor Commander. Don't do that, Commander. So anyway, if you guys are new to the show, this is what it is. We talk about anything and everything, and there are bad words. So, like, we just got to warn you. Probably turn the volume down if you're at work. We're live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Please be sure to like and follow this show wherever you're consuming the content. And if you are watching us right now on Rumble, make sure you hit that red Rumble premium sign, the little clicky box at the bottom of this talking head box. That way you can support the show directly. If you're in the financial position, you can support the show directly, as well as Rumble as a whole, by becoming a Rumble premium subscriber. Ted and I are taping our second official Rumble premium episode tomorrow with a pretty famous, I don't know if she's like an epidemiologist. I don't remember exactly her title, but she's smart. She's an MIT
random
lady.
Smart lady coming on.
A smart doctor of some sort from MIT. So, you got to be pretty smart. So,
are we live tomorrow with her?
No.
Are we?
No. We're taping.
Okay.
We're taping at 4 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll share a portion of that on Friday. But in order to see the whole interview on Friday, you'll have to be a Rumble Premium subscriber.
Which is a good reason to do that.
Yeah.
And there will be more good reasons to do that in the future.
I plan on chastising Ted about the COVID vaccine and see what she says about it. So,
Okay.
Ted.
Be careful. Oh, it's Rumble. We can do that. Yeah.
We can do. No, of course we can do that. It's Rumble Premium. And remember, the FDA has just said that they are rolling back the whole COVID vaccine requirement as part of the schedule.
To the contrary, it's actually going to be difficult to obtain it unless you are in certain categories. Like young, healthy people are not even going to be able. I guess you can get it, but you have to pay for it. I'm guessing.
Well, whatever the final details will be, I'm glad, because it should not be on the vaccine schedule for little children that are just like freshly born, and it should not be on the vaccine schedule for pregnant women, and just all kinds of things. Well, that's a whole different conversation about health.
But remember, the vaccine is safe for pregnant women and effective for pregnant women in all ways, shapes, and forms.
For YouTube, yes. For all the YouTube viewers, it is safe for you.
In fact, everyone should use the vaccine all the time.
Yes.
All the time.
Recreational use.
Recreationally, yes, instead of psychedelics, or
yeah,
or just at the movies, why not get one,
tripping balls, man,
and get some popcorn and get some Skittles. Like, why not?
Sprinkle the vaccine on your popcorn.
Sure. At concerts,
the butter, pump the vaccine right over your
in your green smoothie.
Yum. Oh, nom, nom,
Can't get enough. Yeah.
That's right. That's right, YouTube. You heard us. The vaccine is safe, the safest and most effectivest
of all products in the world.
Of all products. Period.
Yeah. In this universe and in all alternative universes as well.
But
in the
metaverse,
in everywhere. Yeah.
For all the other viewers, if they want to hear about the alternative conversation to that, you'll have to be a Rumble Premium subscriber.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So,
but we will say the same exact thing there.
Totally the same thing. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Ted. All right. With that, let's hop into the news, because there's a lot of, I mean, like you said, Ted, with Biden's health just now perpetually in the spotlight. I mean, you and I have talked about this 2 years back when we launched our old radio show, and obviously people shit on us. So now we can talk about it freely and be okay with it. So,
by the way, I just want to say the funniest thing in the entire world today is the lead editorial in the Washington Post for people who are unfamiliar with editorials. So there are op-eds, which are written by random people. There are columns, which are written by employees of the newspaper. And then there are editorials, which are composed and written for and voted upon by the editorial board of the newspaper. So it is the official stance of the newspaper's management, right, of the editorial page management. Today's Washington Post lead editorial is titled as follows. Manila, please don't choke or swallow your own tongue when I read this. If Biden was too frail for the job, voters should have been informed.
By who? By who, Ted? Who should inform the voters?
Well, the way I look at it, Manila, is probably we should think about developing an industry whose job is purportedly to discover and disseminate the truth. And probably we might want to have that industry have a distribution network through paper and the internet that could get that information to human beings,
to the masses,
yes. And and it would be amazing if one of those institutions were placed in like the nation's capital, where they would be perfectly situated to have access to the corridors of power and develop contacts that would help them obtain such information.
Hey, Ted, you know what's
funny? But unfortunately, we don't have anything like that.
That's
and the Washington
where
Post is calling for that.
That's where I am, but I'm 86th from Capitol Hill.
Yes.
They revoked my badge, my permanent badge.
Mm-hmm.
They, that's so weird. I mean, that's a good concept. Let's talk about it after the Jaws. But and speaking of the nation's capital, I'm going to show you some people from TV here locally in the nation's capital. So let's
great.
All right. So instead of reading the news, the purported news, we're just going to show you what local news from, at least for me, it's local for me, what local news has to say about what's happening here with Joe Biden. Although, Ted, I don't even know where Joe Biden is right now. Is he in Delaware?
That makes two of you. He doesn't know where he is either.
Well, I know. But where is he? Is he in Delaware?
Well, I would imagine he's in Delaware. Yeah. I mean, look, he's very sick. And so I assume he's receiving treatment. He's obviously, we'll get into that. He's been sick for a long time, but he's in Delaware. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. Okay. Where else is it?
The same house where he had that old, I don't know, what was it? Like a old Porsche or whatever, the green one, where he was storing all of the,
it wasn't a Porsche, it was
classified documents.
It was a muscle car of some sort. Yeah. I forget what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, but that's where he was storing all of the documents that Robert Hur didn't want to charge him for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
Robert Hur did want to, but he just felt
he wanted to.
Yeah.
Right. He just can't bring himself to do it.
Well, he just felt that the jury would not convict him.
He'll lose. It'll lose. Oh,
because of his state of mind. Although I'm very confused by that. I'd like to ask one of my lawyer friends. Maybe we can bring someone on the show. Like, why is it that like sometimes your state of mind is applicable to a crime? Like, for example, if Biden didn't know the documents were classified, then the jury would say, well, it's an accident, so therefore it's like not really illegal. You can't charge him. But in other circumstances, ignorance of the law is no excuse, and they don't care. I don't,
Right. Like when you're driving through a new town you don't know, and you're going over the speed limit, and they pull you over, and you say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know the speed limit was only 25."
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. You're going 35, son.
Yeah. One of my favorite examples of that is, how there's towns, I bet you live in one of them, where, but maybe not, where they say you can't park overnight on the street. Like, between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., like where I grew up, where I was living in the Hamptons, there's no parking on the streets between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. at all. And it's just a way to keep like all the, to keep like black people out. But like, basically that's what it was. And like, but it's not, there's no way to know
only
that.
Black people are on the streets from 2 to 6 a.m.
Because they didn't want any like people, because I guess they figured like they don't live there, and they didn't want them like staying there unless they're in a hotel or something. So the point is 2 o'clock to 6. So basically there's a lot of towns like that. What's the town outside of Brookline, Massachusetts, outside of Boston is like that. I parked like that. There's no sign, right? There's no sign on the outskirts of town that says, warning, no parking, 2 a.m. all citywide. And then but that's just the rule. And if you get a ticket, they're like, sucks to be you. But like, there should be signs all over the place if that's the rule.
I have contested parking tickets like that before and I've won. I've actually won in DC because I'll go back to the scene of the crime, do a whole panoramic of the street where I was parked.
That's what you got to do.
And I show the court.
There's no sign.
There's no sign. How would I know? It's up to you guys to notify.
That's right.
The civic population this is a no-no, and I've won.
Right.
Like 3 or 4 times I've done this.
But in other cases, for example, I was trying to explain to my kid, like if you don't pay your tax, let's say you're like, no one tells you when you turn 16 or 18 and you start working, or in my case, 9. Oh, by the way, you have to file taxes. No one tells you. And like, and so it's like, but if you don't file taxes, you're going to get in trouble. Right. It's like ignorance of the law is no excuse, unless you're Hunter Biden, in which case it's not a problem.
Well, okay, so let's hear what I hesitate to call them the news, the local news, but they are the local people on TV that say things
that are
on terrestrial TV.
That are newsish.
That are parallel to news. So let's listen.
Former President Biden's late-stage cancer diagnosis is raising new questions about his previous health screenings.
Yeah, President Trump now asking if the public could have been notified when Biden was still in office. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has more from Washington.
This morning, former President Biden's cancer diagnosis is drawing new questions about his health while in the White House.
I think people should try and find out what happened. Because
President Trump called Biden's cancer diagnosis sad while appearing to cast doubt on Biden's doctors.
Maybe it was the same doctor and somebody is not telling the facts. That's a big problem.
Biden's team said doctors diagnosed him Friday with an aggressive form of prostate cancer after he experienced urinary symptoms and say the cancer had spread to the bones. President Trump now suggesting without evidence that the announcement was delayed.
I'm surprised that it wasn't, the public wasn't notified a long time ago, because to get to stage 9, that's a long time.
President Trump inaccurately referred to Biden's diagnosis as stage 9, a likely reference to his Gleason score of 9. That scale out of 10 measures how aggressive cancer cells appear to be. Biden's last physical as president was in 2024, when routine tests identified no new concerns. But medical records do not indicate whether he was given a PSA test, which detects prostate cancer. Men over 70 are typically not recommended for the test. That's because guidelines say many men of that age group will experience false positives and treatment complications.
So the screening test itself, the PSA, is an imperfect screening methodology for identifying the kind of prostate cancer that is most impactful and aggressive to men.
This all comes as Biden deflects criticisms sparked by a new book, Original Sin, which claims Biden's aides took steps to shield the public from his cognitive decline. Naomi Biden, the former president's granddaughter, slamming the book, calling it uninspired lies written by irresponsible, self-promoting journalists out to make a quick buck. Meanwhile, a prostate specialist at Duke University calls the timeline of Biden's diagnosis, quote, perfectly reasonable and not medically unusual. Nicole, do you...
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what local news has to say about the former POTUS. And okay, so there are some facts there, right? I mean, the fact that typically men over 70, it's not a thing they highly recommend, because I think the basis for that is because they figure, you're over 70,
You're gonna
if you
die
got another
anyway.
10 years. Yeah, they only test men who they expect to have a lifespan longer than the next 10 years. So if you're like Ted, right? You're over 60.
Mm-hmm.
They expect you to live past 70, so they would test you.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. There's a lot of problems here. First of all, it's not an extra test. They're drawing blood from you anyway, and so it's just the only question is, do you have the lab test for this as well, right? And so. I guess we'll be doing an ad soon. Maybe should we just go ahead and pop in and do that, or?
Yeah, why don't you hold your thought and we should.
All right, I'll hold my thought. All right, all right, Robbie, go
ahead.
And,
Robbie's got to put it up on the screen.
Please go ahead and put it. I'll keep talking while he's doing that.
Producer
So,
Robbie.
all right. So the thing is, the problem here is that this is not like Biden going to see his personal physician, which of course he does have. I'm reading Jake Tapper's book. I'm currently right now on the chapter about that, and I'm going to wrap up my thought here in 30 seconds. But the problem is that all presidents go to Walter Reed Medical Center for at least one annual checkup, plus if they have a slip and fall like Biden did, COVID, additional times, right? So this is the same protocol that previous presidents, including Trump the first and Obama and so on, have undergone. That we already know that the term before Biden's, Trump in 2017, 18, 19, 20, went to Walter Reed. He was over 70 years old during that time period. And they routinely, because he's the president, did administer the PSA tests. I guarantee you we are going to discover that he absolutely had been diagnosed earlier with prostate cancer, and that he's known for a long time, and that the people around him have known for a long time. All right, let's go ahead with this ad. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now it's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits harder than the CNN fact check, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus. No crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A further strong frother, strong enough to stir up your coffee. That sounds good. And your mother-in-law's political opinions. And a black 1775 tumbler that says, I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they disappear. Gone, daddy, gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs up what you believe. So what we're being asked to believe here is that the Walter Reed Medical Center decided to change their protocol when Biden became president, and to just be, I mean, he was a little older than Trump, not much older, and that they decided, well, we're just not going to, we don't care if he has prostate cancer. By the way, I had a false positive on my PSA test 2 years ago. And you know what the doctor said? The doctor said it happens all the time. We'll run another one, see what happens. Usually it'll be better. And of course, that's what happened. It's not a big deal to get a false positive. They just redo it. So, I mean, basically everything involving the president's health, Manila, as you well know, is done out of an abundance of caution, right? They're not going to skimp on testing here. They're not going to say like, oh, you know, we don't need to do this. We don't need to do that. If they're not sure, they're going to test. If they're not sure, they're going to look. I mean, obviously, right? I mean,
you're the president.
It's the president. And so, you know, we're being, and the thing is, okay, so maybe we're mistaken here. And maybe this is all, you know, this seems very unlikely. But let's just say it's all true. Given what we know from the Tapper book, given all the lies that we know, and by the way, if you read the book, there's a lot more than the stuff that's broken in the press. Like, for example, during 2021, his first year in office, Nancy Pelosi was working on the Build Back Better bill, trying to rally the votes on Capitol Hill. And so she got the conference of Democrats together, and it was a little tough to get that bill passed. So she asked the president to come down and rally the Democratic troops and say, like, I really need your support, right? This is a generic presidential duty, right? That come on down and say, like, you know, it would be a personal favor to me if you would vote
pep
for
rally.
this. I would owe you. It's a pep rally. So he goes down there, gives and basically tells some meandery, unrelated stories about nothing, completely forgets to talk about the bill and leaves. And Nancy Pelosi's like, what the fuck is going on? And so she's like, so Mama Bear decides like, oh, let's do a do-over. She waits a few months, you know, whatever. He forgot, he was distracted. And she's very specific, Mr. President, I need you to make the ask. He forgets again. He can't
of his own bill.
Of his own bill.
Yeah.
And this is the most important bill of his presidency, and it's his first year in office. And there's a lot of stuff like that. And I'm on like page 90 right now. But there's a lot more. So I just don't believe for a minute that we know we've been lied to over and over and over by the media, by the White House staff. Look at Pete Buttigieg, right? He didn't lay eyes on Joe Biden in any more than you and me did during the last 2 years. He never saw him, never met with him. Only 2 cabinet members out of all of them. What are there, 17? Only 2 of them, state, Tony Blinken, and defense, Lloyd Austin. They're the only 2 who met with the president the last 2 years in office. The only 2.
Well,
now think about it. So if you're the Secretary of the Interior,
Jill was hosting the cabinet meetings. Remember?
If you're the Secretary of Labor, you should be able to call up the chief of staff and say, I need a few minutes with the president. They couldn't do that. Like that's insane. He should be holding cabinet meetings. He, not his wife, at least once a week. He wasn't doing them at all. And the cover up goes back to, according to the Tapper book, it goes back to 2015. Basically, the argument, and it's pretty well sourced, is that Biden's brain blew up after Beau died. And he never recovered from that. And basically, it's been pudding ever since. And so he basically, we've been lied to about his mental acuity now for years, for a decade. And so, excuse me, pardon us for being a little gun shy when you ask us to believe this cockamamie malarkey. Yeah, come on, man. About the cancer thing. Like,
you believe that people are really like once bitten, twice shy. I don't think a lot of people, I mean, I saw like Pew, I forget which big polling company. This immediate polling came out right after this announcement on Friday or Saturday. And the polls show that Democratic voters, it was something like 30-ish, 31%, plus or minus 3% for the margin of error. But still, 1/3 of Democratic voters still believe everything about Joe Biden, that he was fine up until recent. He didn't know about the cancer diagnosis, that they're just hook, line, and sinker. So I don't know about this once bitten, twice shy. I just don't know that at least 1/3 of the Democratic voters are still Team Biden all the way through.
And first of all, Jake's book just came out, and most people aren't going to read the book. It's going to take a while for people to percolate, for all this to percolate through the system. Republicans and progressives who are annoyed who are Biden's political adversaries are going to spread this through the food chain, and people are going to talk. It's going to take months, maybe for Democrats to really internalize. I mean, in the same way, the Watergate break-in took place in the spring of 1972. Months later, Richard Nixon was nevertheless reelected in a record landslide, 49 out of 50 states. And then it took really until shit started to hit a year and a half before it started. And it took 2.5 years to extract him from the White House. So I think you're going to see the timeline is going to be faster. But I take your point. Also, I think where Democrats are a lot of them are like, I don't care. I would have voted for an empty, dead husk over Donald Trump. It just doesn't matter to me. And I think the argument that ought to be made is, first, I'm just going to say, here's the real issue, and I think most Democrats would agree with me. The Republicans never branded themselves as the party of truth and honesty. They branded themselves as the party of strength and power and defending and national security. Democrats did brand themselves for the last 10 years or so as the party of truth, integrity, following the science where it leads, and that turned out to all not be true, right? So when you break your own brand, that's a problem. Coca-Cola never said we're healthy for you. It's like the more Coke you drink, the more healthy you will live longer. If they did that, they would have trouble. Now, if Coca-Cola stopped tasting good, they'd have a problem. I mean, so the Democrats have gone against their brand, and that's very hard to recover from.
They don't taste good anymore, Ted. They just don't.
They don't taste good. Yeah, this is new Coke. They messed up. They messed with the formula. This is a catastrophe, and they can sit there and say, well, but look at Donald Trump. I mean, hell, Donald Trump committed a huge faux pas, like while talking about Biden and his health and his mental health. Cancer. He made a mistake about like the stages of cancer, right? 4 is the last one.
4 is 1 to 4.
Yeah, and that other scale is like 2 to 9. I don't know why it's 2 to 9, which is very strange.
I read that Gleason was 6 to 9.
Oh, is it? That's very strange. It's like how the SAT is like 200 to 800. It's like, what? But anyway,
back when I was taking it was like up to 1600. It was
but that each one there was math and verbal, right?
So it was like 400 per section. I thought it was like science,
400 to
math.
1600 or 200 to 800 for each one. But the point is, don't make them, like when you're accusing someone of being stupid, don't make a stupid mistake. So you could, and they're going to say, well, what about Donald Trump? And the answer is, like, we should have that conversation about Donald Trump's mental acuity. It's a valid conversation to have.
Well,
and for that matter, about his health. But we're not going to have that conversation now, because that's a different conversation. Right now, this is about Joe Biden.
Acuity is an issue. I think Trump is more than well, especially for his age. I don't think that's the problem. I don't think he's just that well-rounded in terms of smarts to begin with. I'm not saying he's a dumb man. Obviously, he's not stupid.
He's not stupid.
He's not stupid. And he's got, like business instincts like no other. But
there's cause to wonder if he's mentally impaired. I mean, if you watch an interview with him from the 80s, 90s, aughts, he's a very different guy now. I mean, I guess maybe I am compared to when I was 20. But the point is that there's that these people. I mean, he rambles on, and it's very strange how he he digresses from his digressions to his digressions, and and these weird nonsensical references to like Hannibal Lecter and stuff like that. Like,
well, I'm going to pull a Trump then. Look behind Donald Trump in this image. Doesn't that guy look like Jeb Bush, the guy in the cop uniform?
Oh my God, that's totally true.
Doesn't he look like Jeb? I can't stop looking at the guy.
He really does. Is that Stephen Miller behind him?
No.
The Hitlerian looking guy there.
No. The shaved head guy. I forget his name. No, but that's not Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller looks even more dubious than that. And then behind the Jeb Bush looking cop is a
portrait.
He's a congressman, black congressman out of Florida who Malik Abdul really likes. I can't think of his name. But anyway, he's not. I guess he's not showing in it. But anyway, he's a big pro MAGA black conservative.
I see.
But
look, here's the thing, Manila. We have to ask ourselves at this point. I mean, interestingly, even the Washington Post in that editorial that that is just absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to quote from it a little bit, and basically, I'm
going to have balls playing behind you.
Oh, good.
As talking. Warning signs of prostate cancer, according to the Cleveland Clinic. That's a reputable place, Cleveland Clinic. I think, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The Cleveland Clinic is. So, long story short, the Washington Post. I'm having trouble finding the spot. They are calling for a congressional investigation of some sort.
One second. Look at your screen.
Mm-hmm.
So this is about prostate cancer, and I think this person represents a trans woman.
Oh, I see. Huh. Okay. Yeah, it's always funny when someone's like, "Whoa!" Oh, like her penis, her testes, her prostate.
Oh, are they recommending that she go have her prostate?
Well, no, obviously she needs that. Yeah, I mean, all kidding aside, yeah, she does.
This is okay, guys. This is from the Cleveland Clinic. Like this
is no, I mean honestly, they're giving good advice. I bet in case trans people are, they don't think this applies to them. It does, of course. I'm sure they're well aware, but yeah.
Like I don't think I have to go check my prostate, Ted.
No, well, I mean, although I guess I do have to worry about my breasts because men can get breast cancer, like normal cis men.
Yes, that is
so. True. Anyway,
but, okay, so yeah, that's what we're looking at. In case people were curious, like what the hell is Manila playing?
By the way, she's cuter than the average, trans lady, I would say. But anyway,
I've seen cuter.
Oh, for sure. Like, well, the Thai, like the Thai boy,
lady boys. Just indistinguishable. I'm embarrassed for myself.
No, yeah, great woman. Yeah, you get feelings, and you're like, I'm like the crying game. So it's definitely a. I mean, so look, we do need an investigation here, and I think we need to. This is I think Scott Stantis and I, both students of history, have thought about political scandals going back to the beginning of the Republic, and this I think appears to be the biggest political scandal in U.S. history by far. I mean, literally.
Really?
Well, it has to be. I mean, literally, you installed the Democrats. They lied to the voters and installed a guy who was shot the day he took the oath of office and unable to do the business.
Fully damaged product
from day one. Now the thing is, yes, okay, so
they sold us damaged goods.
Woodrow Wilson had a stroke and then he was incapacitated, but he didn't start out that way. He started out sharp. Ronald Reagan, again, the last 2 years he had Alzheimer's, but the point is he didn't start out that way. His first 6 years. He wasn't elected that way. It's not like the GOP installed a dude they knew was going to get Alzheimer's. And it's not cool that they let him in there for 2 years. But this is on a whole different level. Like we're going in from the start. We're going to install this guy. We're using him, by the way, to cut the nads off the Democratic Socialist who might give us health care, Bernie. That's why we installed him, right?
Yeah.
Find that think about the DNC. We would rather have a senile dude with cancer than have Medicare for all. That's where we're at.
Correct.
And so and then we install him, and we know we're going to be hiding Biden for 4 years. And it's like, okay. And then they know they've got that. There's no responsibility whatsoever to pick a vice president who, no question, could be president on day one. Not at all. They choose someone who they themselves don't think is up to the job. They don't think she's up to the job. They pick her anyway. Okay, so at this point, I guess we have to look at who was the Speaker of the House, because that was going to be our best shot at being the president, right? Anyway,
and Nancy's 104 is your point,
right? I mean, this is really getting crazy. Then it's like we're going to keep this ruse going on for 4 years, but we'll lie to the voters, and the voters are a little sus on this, and they're like, okay, so I don't like Donald Trump, so I'll vote for him, but he is really long in the tooth. I'm not sure. Okay, don't worry. It's a transitional bridge to the future, new Democrat. It's only one term. Oh, did we say one term? No. We meant 2 terms. For sure, we can keep this going until he turns 86 years old. And now we know for a fact that if reelected, he soon would have been dead. He will soon be dead. I'd be shocked if he's alive a year from now, despite all the crap that they're feeding us. The dude's on his way out. And they knew that, just like Trump said, everything Trump said here is correct. Unfortunately, it grieves me to say that, but he's right. It's like he was shot. They knew it, and they installed him. I mean, okay. So listen, it's like this, Manila. So look, if you install, I'm in mid rant here. I've got to finish my rant. So Donald Trump. So Joe Biden. They put him in there. And they just don't. They're going to lie to the voters. Now, if the voters knew, oh, he's got cancer, he's got ball rot, and he's got brain rot, and we don't care because we hate Donald Trump, that's democracy. That is the democratic process, and the American voter has the right to vote for any stupid person they want. But that's not what they did. They lied. They said, oh, it's A-OK, he's good, and then we're going to keep this going, not once but twice. We're going to lie to you. And then throughout the 4 years, and we're going to hide the dude. And then anyone who says, he doesn't seem quite right, we're going to shout them down and call them an ageist asshole. Okay. And say, oh, are you a gerontologist? And then after all that, they're going to say oh, our bad. No, they installed, it's a coup. It's a coup regime. It's like Zelensky. It's a coup regime. It's not like the voters didn't have a free will. I mean, let's say there was something about Donald Trump that we all really would want to know. For example, he's a spy for North Korea. And that the Republican Party knew, and they don't care, and they don't tell anyone. Okay, we would all say, well, we were snookered, right? I mean, that's a political scandal of epic proportions. It's not Teapot Dome. It's not the people around President Grant in the 1860s. It's not, it's not Andrew Johnson. It's not, Watergate's a joke. Monica Lewinsky, a joke. I mean, this is epic. This is about literally the system itself. And if you're not furious about this, there's something wrong with, I'm not talking about you, but I mean, in general, if people aren't up in arms, well, I mean, then there is no system.
Well, the party sucks. That's first and foremost. The party sucks,
question.
And it's not about the voters at all. It's about them, the party. The party is about the party, and I think Democrats need to come to terms with that. I don't know who
country comes first. Country always comes first.
30%, 31% is that still are backing the Bidens and backing whatever the party is deciding. I don't know who those people are, but they're nuts if they aren't completely pissed off about this. So I want to lean on the grandpa side of this, because I'm with Robert Herr, where I would have a hard time. Well, I'm sure deep down inside Robert Herr's heart, because he's Korean American, he's Asian American like me, there's some level of deference towards old people that we're just raised with, right? Like Robert Herr is only like early 50s, right? Like early or mid 50s. He's Korean American, and we were just, us of that generation, our parents were immigrants. We were raised with having a lot of reverence for elders. So I don't know Robert Herr, but I would assume, just based on those basic facts alone, that he would probably have that's why he talked to Biden the way he did in the audio, was because there's a level of deference for him, just not because he's POTUS, because he's
also
old.
because he's POTUS.
But also, sure, but mostly because he's old above anything else. But when I look at this and I'm staring at a flaccid penis on the screen, maybe I should roll the video. So what I read was patients with this level, stage 4 diagnosis, that they live between 5 and 10 years, right? I'm not sure exactly the detail of like from what point, like if had you been diagnosed sooner or at the point of stage 4, I'm not sure about that. But according to the reports, it says, that's not too bad, that he can live a few more years, and that the doctors will likely give him a drug that stops his testes from making testosterone, because this kind of cancer he has is fueled by testosterone. So basically they're going to make him take a drug that is going to cut off all testosterone. So he's basically going to become androgenic, and I don't know, maybe start transitioning in his
He could become
later
a girl.
years.
Yeah. He could become a girl. He could start shopping more.
He could be Joanne.
Wake up with a craving for chocolate in the middle of the night.
He could be Joanne Biden.
He could start picking fights with Jill for no reason whatsoever.
Hey, they are going to give him other meds also that could like essentially soak up, for lack of a better term, soak up the testosterone that's already currently flowing in his bloodstream, which is crazy sounding to me. And then they could potentially offer him chemo or radiation or whatever specific drugs for that specific cancer. Now, to me, my dad passed away of cancer. Cancer just is all over my family. I'm not a huge proponent of chemotherapy. I don't know about maybe radiation. I don't know, but certainly chemotherapy, I'm not a huge fan of, especially if you're an aged, frail person like Joe Biden.
No, he's probably not a candidate for chemo.
He probably should not go that route. But anyway, they said they stopped testing him for the PSA in 2014. So in 2014, he was still the vice president. So if theoretically this kind of cancer takes a decade to brew, it's possible that there were signs back then when he was Veep. So I don't know why even his own family, they must hate him, Ted. His family must fucking hate him, because if I were his daughter, if I were his granddaughter, I would be pissed right now to find out that grandpa or my dad, that how are you just now finding out that my dad has, if this is true, that he just found out on Friday, if that were my dad, I'd be like, what the fuck kind of doctors are you? How are you just now finding out that my dad has cancer? Like that's where I would be, but none of the Bidens are saying that. And instead they are lashing out at the press. And you have David Axelrod, Obama's, was he chief of staff? David Axelrod? I forget what he was, but you have Axelrod and other like pro-Democrat, whatever media people clapping back at the rest of the media who are now pointing fingers at Biden. That's what they're doing instead. The Biden camp, instead of, if this were true, I find the reaction from the family to be very odd.
It's very tempered, right? I mean, like, I would be
like,
it's like, I'd be calling lawyers
I didn't know.
I'd be suing for malpractice, right?
Right?
Like you let yet like stage
this-
4.
If
like,
this wasn't new news, Ted, would you be responding like that?
no.
I mean, if this were new news, would you be responding like, how dare the media say that about my dad and my grandpa and the doctor?
Nope.
But if you have to pretend like this is new news, you're like, oh, wow.
We're just being strong. We're pulling together. Sometimes
Totally
life
new
gives you
information.
lemonades.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, lemons.
I'm very, that's
Bidening
Biden
out
brain
now.
for you. I'm very suspect of the family. And for a long time, we have speculated, Ted, that
they're all dirtbags. I mean, that's established.
Jill is about Jill. As much as her, public persona is like, oh, she's the loving wife, and she stepped in to become the stepmom after the boy's real mom.
It's interesting. According to the Tapper book, she was like that. And then something switched around 2015, 2016, and she started to get ambitious and she started to like the finer things in life. But she used to be down to earth and very grounding and sweet. But she kind of,
like most school teachers are, but then
she changed. All right, last question before we move on, because we've run really late here, and I do want to get to our other stories.
Well, not question, or we need to point out.
I have one more question for you. All right, so accountability. Should there be accountability? I mean, look, for the media, all the pundits who knew what was going on. I mean, like Jon Stewart yesterday said something funny, right? He said, like, here you do, and it's not the first time this has happened. Like, basically the media is trying to sell you a book that contains information that the media should have given you for free over a year ago. Okay, like, because it's the news media. I mean, Jake, if only to be someone who was in the room where it happened. Jake Tapper he was the moderator at the debate. Okay, so like, what should there be accountability for all the media people who clearly had to know what was happening and chose not to investigate, chose not to publish their doubts in like at least the opinion sections of the paper? Should there be accountability for the Democratic hacks who put their party and their president and first instead of the country? Should there be accountability actually for the Republicans who failed to impeach? Should there be accountability for Kamala Harris, who clearly had to know what was going on and didn't trigger the 25th Amendment, which was her constitutional duty? Should there be accountability for all the members of Congress, like Nancy Pelosi, all the other people, the celebrities who knew and saw this president addled and unable to perform his tasks and remain silent? Should there be a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, a Nuremberg trial, something, a 9/11 commission, a Warren commission report, or should we just shrug our shoulders and say it is what it is, whatevs, and move on?
Do I think we should? Yes, but is it going to happen? Probably not. Although with Andrew Cuomo, this is a postmortem now. Andrew Cuomo, who's about to run for mayor of your fine city,
and will probably win.
Well, he was the governor at the time during COVID. They're now opening a DOJ investigation into the way he handled COVID. So this is like postmortem 3 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that'll be the same thing. Maybe later, like after Biden dies or whatever. Has he been out of office that long? I thought it was
COVID. I mean, the pandemic was 2020. That's when all the old folks were sent to die.
Oh, when they were dying. Oh, so it would have been his comments from then, from 5 years ago. So maybe after Biden passes away, that's when all this shit will hit the fan. But I don't, should and will they are two different questions, and totally unrelated cancer news. This from, I guess it's kind of local news for us here, but it's a major story. Unrelated cancer news: Democratic Congressman Jerry Connolly from Virginia has passed away at the age of 75. He was battling esophageal cancer. In late April, he announced he would be stepping back from leadership roles and would not seek re-election in the 2026 midterm. So I presume he passed away at home. If anyone had heard him speaking as of recent, he had that really, it was really hard to understand him because it was his
No, that
vocal
sucks.
cords. That sucks. So 75 isn't that old, not today anyway, but yeah, he just passed away today. So that I don't think not very likely to shift the balance of power on Capitol. It's possible, but I don't see that happening. I think he's in a pretty secure district, and I think if they have to do a special election, another Democrat will win. But that's him. So cancer all over the place here in Washington, D.C.
Everyone's got cancer.
Everyone's got cancer here in Washington, D.C., but we should also point out that most of these people that we're pointing out that have cancer are all old. So the incidence rate goes way up, Ted, once you're older.
Right.
So, all right, let's just steamroll through the next couple of stories real quick.
Let's do it. No Jaws? Or, okay.
No, we're going to keep going.
Okay, Elon Musk says that Tesla is experiencing a major rebound in demand after, of course, political blowback caused a lot of people not to buy his e-cars. The company's sales went down in Q1 due to his support for Trump and his role in Doge. Musk tells CNBC that Tesla's sales are bouncing back, but there's no exact numbers here. He said Tesla's on track to launch unsupervised full self-driving car services in Austin, Texas next month. So I think I'll be staying off the streets of Austin as a pedestrian for a while. But he said that the company will start with probably 10 for a week before increasing them from there. Musk said it'll probably be at 1,000 within a few months, though he confirmed reports that the company will have people remotely monitoring the operations to ensure safety. He predicted hundreds of thousands to 1 million Teslas with full self-driving capability on American roads overall. Wait for it by the end of next year. I think it's prudent for us to start with a small number, confirm that things are going well, and then scale it up proportionate to how well we see it's doing. He said, the big picture, Musk said last month that he'll take a significant step back from his work in Washington. He also told the Qatar Economic Forum that he would dial back his spending, political contributions to campaigns. Self-driving cars are freaky.
Have you seen all the Waymo cars that are going the wrong way in traffic and like trying to like weasel in like across traffic?
No, this isn't. Where's that out? Is this out in San Francisco?
No, like in Texas, and even still, despite all of these Waymo traffic concerns in like smaller towns, like all over, like in the South, I want to say it's like Texas. They're still going to release self-driving cabs in San Francisco. And some of these self-driving cabs, there are videos floating around out there of these Waymo taxis with passengers in the back. Ted, this is taking your first job, right? Like the Waymo cab.
Not doing a better job either.
And it is kidnapping the passengers and going rogue and going on its own path. And going into traffic. That's terrifying. So I don't know. Elon's probably saying, all right, my 120 days or whatever, my special assignment's over. I'm going back to Texas to do Tesla. I don't know how he's saying that Tesla shares. I mean, sure, they might be having a small bounce because of his announcement, because, it took a nosedive because everyone.
Well, he's not talking about the shares. He's talking about the sales.
Oh, he said the sales are up. Well, the sales were down.
I mean, the share price is publicly traded. We know exactly what's going on.
Are they up or down? I thought they were down. I thought the share price.
Yeah, they're still a net down, I think.
So I don't know if he thinks him going back is going to drive shares up and sales up and whatever. But I will tell you this, as a hybrid driver, that hybrid sales are going way up in demand and electric car demand is going way down. And I don't know if Elon thinks somehow he's going to capitalize on this somehow, but I don't see where the math is going to work out where Tesla is going to be in the position where it was a year ago.
Well, I mean, the stock I'm looking at the stock now. It's climbing back out of a hole. It kind of bottomed out in basically March and April of this year,
when
and
people
it's
were
climbing
damaging.
back, and it was at a high in December of last year, before this whole Doge thing. But it was really low. It was much lower than it is now, like even in like October. So, basically, I think it has recovered to sort of early December.
Don't you think the brand has been damaged permanently?
Of course it has.
I think permanent
the
damage.
thing is, I think the factor, and I'm sure he's very aware of this because he's a smart guy. It's, I don't really care about like being identified by my politics. I don't, I would buy a Tesla. I don't care that people would say, oh, but Ted claims he's a lefty, but he's driving a Tesla. I give no shits until the revolution comes and we're driving like the 2029 Lenin. I don't care. but like the thing is, I'd be worried about buying a Tesla because of it getting vandalized by woke liberals, and so I think a lot of people probably make the same calculus. Like, I don't want to buy a car that's a lightning rod and it's going to get like scratched and beaten up. I knew a lot of people when I grew up in Ohio, in a GM town, that they wouldn't buy a Japanese car because they were worried that they'd come out of Kroger's and there'd be a broken windshield. So I think that's the concern. And I don't know. Obviously, time will solve this problem. Tesla has, the infrastructure. They have the charging stations all over the place. That's their secret recipe,
car.
Right? That's their secret sauce.
It's a pretty car.
It's a gorgeous car. Of course, I will say the other thing that makes me not want to buy one is the door handle thing. So if you,
I don't like that.
If you crash the car and then first responders can't open the door to get you out, they have to break the window with equipment. And, that's a delay. If you're like on fire, which an electric vehicle is more likely than, really, those batteries explode, right? So you're inside burning up and you can't, and if you're not in a state of mind to be able to open the door, they can't get you. That's, honestly, it never ought to have been approved by. Yeah,
I'm not. I like those door handles that you can just reach like this and pull.
That's fine.
That's what I have.
But a human firefighter or ambulance driver or police officer's hand ought to be able to open the outside of the door.
Right. That is a safety concern. But to Elon's point about him leaving DC and going back to Austin, I don't think he gets it that the brand has been damaged.
I think he gets it very well. What's happened is that the board called him on the carpet and they were like, Elon, quit playing politician, get your ass back to work or we'll fire you again like we did before. Remember after the weed video years ago?
They fired him?
Or they were going to, or something. They were going to fire him because he was smoking weed on an interview.
Rogan.
That's what it was.
On Rogan. And then they started talking about aliens.
Yeah. So, and I guess he talked them into it, but I'm sure the board is like, cut the shit. That's what this is about. Yeah.
All right. On to a sadder story. Disturbing.
Indeed. Okay. So, former Ukrainian politician Andrei Portnov, who was a senior aide to former President Viktor Yanukovych, who was, of course, the Ukrainian president deposed in the Maidan coup d'etat in 2014, has been shot dead outside the Spanish capital of Madrid. That, according to national police there in Spain. Portnov, 51 years old, was shot a couple of times while he was getting into a car at about 9:15 in the morning local time, police said. Various assailants shot him in the back and the head, later fled into a wooded area. The shooting took place outside the American School of Madrid, located in Pozuelo del Alarcón, an affluent suburb just west of Madrid. The school sent out various urgent messages to parents after this happened. Took place right after school drop-off, and noting that the victim is believed to be the father of a student there. Imagine you drop off your kid and then whacked.
Horrible.
Portnov was sanctioned by the U.S. in 2021 for alleged corruption and bribery under the Magnitsky Act. He was, quote, credibly accused of using his influence to buy access and decisions in Ukraine's courts and undermining reform efforts, according to the Treasury Department. Bear in mind, this was under Biden. This was during the period that led up to the Russo-Ukrainian conflict. So obviously politics are involved here. The former politician fled Ukraine a few months after the Russian special military operation in February 2022, when men of draft age were not allowed to leave. He was, of course, a man of draft age. Portnoy was appointed deputy head of the Yanukovych administration back in 2010. He was also the head of the main directorate for judicial reform and judicial systems. At the same time, he was aboard of the National Bank of Ukraine. Yanukovych was driven out of office by the Maidan uprising in 2014 after he decided not to support joining the EU. He wanted to maintain Ukraine's ties with Russia, its next door neighbor. Yanukovych then fled Ukraine for Russia, and Portnoy, of course, had to leave at the same time. So this is obviously a Ukrainian government hit job. No question about it.
Obviously.
No question.
No question. And Ted, it's because I think what this tells us is that the grift is coming to an end. And the powers that be right now, which are the Zelensky people and the, whatever the Azov has rebranded themselves today, they're like they're Blackwater, right? They keep changing names every couple of years, but their ideology is still the same. The Azov types are still in charge, and they are not thrilled with, the Yanukovych camp, because I guess they want to
they're probably a little worried that as the things start to change, that the Zelensky regime is going to go away, and the old people will come back. So they're like,
maybe that's their concern. So they're whacking them right now.
Yeah.
Like, this is what an awful story about, this is obviously a hit job. This is not, they didn't try to rob the guy. They didn't try to kidnap the kid.
This is an assassination.
This was a total assassination in broad daylight in the streets of, the suburbs of Madrid. And like, how awful, like being this kid, your dad just drops you off at school and he's,
by the way, you'll have to take a lift to get home.
Oh, how awful. Just what an awful story. But I think this speaks to the changes that are coming very quickly, I think, to Kiev. And I think we're going to see more of these, honestly. I think anybody from the old regime that was democratically elected back then, before the Maidan.
Any government is at its most desperate right before it collapses. And the Zelensky government is, I think it can count its days in months at this point. So it's nervous. And that's, sort of like, people, the rate of the Holocaust accelerated dramatically in the last few months of the war. Desperation, breeds violence as people feel the end coming. And finally, the U.S. Supreme Court has given the Trump administration the right to revoke special legal protections for thousands of Venezuelan immigrants, which will allow some of them to be deported. The court granted an emergency application by the Trump administration, so now Trump can move forward with reversing a Biden ruling to extend protections for 350,000 Venezuelans under something called the Temporary Protected Status Program. The order did note that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was against this, would have denied the application. So now this will go on in lower courts. It's not really over yet. Assistant Homeland Security Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said that this was a win for the American people and the safety of our communities. As a result of political instability in Venezuela, something that the U.S. always causes, the Biden administration in March 2021 declared that Venezuelans became eligible for that status under this program that actually goes back to 1990. It's meant to provide humanitarian relief for people from countries fleeing from war, natural disasters, and other catastrophes. If you get into the program, you get legal status in the U.S., work authorization for up to 18 months. You can get that renewed. but otherwise you can just be deported through the normal process. You can also, apply for political asylum and try to stay in. The Supreme Court also indicated that some of the Venezuelans whose work authorizations was previously extended to October may have legal grounds to mount another legal challenge, although advocates are not sure exactly what the language means, which means it'll have to be adjudicated in the lower courts. At the same time, the Trump administration has faced a bit of a setback as their latest gambit has been to deport migrants, illegal migrants, to war-torn hellholes like Libya and South Sudan. And a federal judge just issued a national injunction saying that no one who is not a citizen of South Sudan can be sent to South Sudan. You can certainly deport a South Sudanese person back to their homeland if they're not here legally, but not someone from another country, a third country.
Yeah, this is, I know producer Robbie is smiling because we know where he stands on this.
We do.
Look, I'm actually leaning more producer Robbie on this particular story because Biden upped and made this decision on his own, and I'll pop producer Robbie in because I know he's going to have opinions. But look, Biden moved the goalposts. That's really what happened. He changed pre-existing laws that have been in the books for 50, 60, 70 years and said, okay, we're going to give just these people, this allotted group of people, we're going to give them a special status called TPS. So, I'm not saying that all these people are bad people and nothing like that. I'm just saying on the legal side of this is that Biden picked up the goalposts and moved it. And a lot of other people that are, would have also have loved to have temporary status. This was a swipe at the Maduro regime. That's what this was. So
that is true.
And Biden politicized this.
It's very political.
And tried to, look benevolent and like he was, helping all these poor migrants when in reality they were just pawns to be used as a swipe against Maduro. And then you have, other people like Robbie who are like, WTF, why, like these people are taking our jobs, like that's really what's happening because TPS gave these people status to work.
Yeah, I mean, they did. I mean, really, if you want to help the people of Venezuela, what you do is that you lift the sanctions. I mean, that's what you do. And I'm probably going to break a bunch of brains, but I'm actually opposed to deporting people to third countries. Like, why the hell would you send someone from Canada, for example, to South Sudan? It's stupid. You send back to their home country, and if the country won't take them back, you cut off their remittances. You turn off their economy. You say you take your people back, or we will completely and utterly annihilate you as a geopolitical power.
And it's also the choice of the countries and the facilities that are being used. It's meant, Robbie, as a threat of violence to them. I mean, right? It's to scare them. Like, oh, if you don't, agree to self-deport, we'll send you to that horrible gulag in El Salvador or Libya, where they have open air slave markets. I mean, it's a completely failed state. You're like, I could die. So, look, we agree on this point. I think I'm going to blow up your guys' brains by agreeing that the Venezuela thing should have been rolled back. Venezuela doesn't deserve special protected status. It's not a dangerous country. There's no reason not to send people back to Venezuela. It's a perfectly fine place to live as long as the U.S. stays out of it. When we leave it alone, it's very, like under Hugo Chavez, it was a nice place to live. It doesn't make any sense to me at all to give a special, status to people who don't need it. They're not fleeing anything. So go home.
I mean, why didn't he give TPS to fucking Palestinians?
For example.
Well, for one thing, I mean, presidents don't make laws. If you want to carve out these exemptions, then Congress needs to actually do its job, pass laws, and then be held accountable to the voters who are going to ask them, why are you betraying once again your constituents? Just like this big, beautiful bill that Trump's pushing through. There's nothing America First about it. And the Republicans who vote for this will they will be held accountable by the MAGA types like me. So
we shall see.
That's what you have to do. I mean, either you have a democracy, or you don't.
Yeah, honestly, I could get behind TPS on the grounds of humanitarian, saving people from imminent threat and danger, such as the Benjamin Netanyahu regime. If you told me we are giving TPS, temporary protected status, to 350,000 Gazans, I'd be like, yes, they need help. Get them out.
They have no place to go back to.
Get them out.
And then you're giving Israel exactly what it wants, Manila. Then you give them exactly what they want.
That's true.
So
that's
I mean,
true too, there's no win here for.
So I mean, if you want to abet the ethnic cleansing, sure, open the borders and bring in 2 million people who don't speak the language, are functionally illiterate, and have nothing in common whatsoever with Western civilization. Sure, you can do that. I'll stick them in Northern Virginia. You can.
By the way, Palestinians are far better educated than you think. Honestly.
I have no idea. I'm just throwing stuff out. I'm pulling a Sean Hannity here. So
okay, all right.
It is what it is. But
yeah.
I'm just saying, if we're going to give TPS,
and I agree with you. I don't think we should take them for that exact reason. I don't want to give Israel a pressure release valve at all. And they don't want to leave. The Palestinians, they are determined to stay, and if need be, die in their home.
To leave? The ones that want to leave, wouldn't they? I would say if TPS was going to exist,
I don't think we should. I don't think we should admit that, because that is.
I'm just saying
the Israelis.
How many of them?
I'm just saying for that reason, TPS. I could get behind that.
Manila,
on the other hand, it is dangerous because we didn't accept Jews in World War II because we were worried about aiding and abetting the Hitlerites.
Yeah, well, I mean, my whole question is: the people who have you're saying right now, Manila, how many migrants are you gonna put in your house? How many Venezuelans are living in my house right now in Miami? No, that's not how that works. Sure it is. I mean, if you're advocating for it,
those people are there under TPS.
Robbie, look, you live in a place that has lots of empty room. Okay, there's tons of space in this country. We have tens of millions of empty homes.
Sure,
we have the room. Okay, that's not the issue.
So you're an environmentalist, right, Ted?
100%.
Well, then, Robbie, you're okay with having the Afrikaners come here?
That's true. Why?
Okay, for one thing, Trump's invited them in legally, and personally,
Biden invited TPS.
It's exactly the same thing. It was by executive order.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's wrong. I oppose both of these things. For example.
Okay, so the Afrikaners, you're saying fuck them. They should go back home.
Yes.
Okay, I agree with you.
Listen, I want the borders closed. This is not a difficult thing.
I mean, the Afrikaner thing is just a dog whistle, a racist dog whistle to the far right.
Well, I mean, what my solution is for the Afrikaners is if they are concerned that they're being hunted down and killed, which is true.
It has happened. I mean, it's
then
not
you
like
arm them to the
all
teeth,
time.
and you say if they want to come and fight you, my solutions are
we
my
don't need to arm them to
Montana
the teeth. They are armed to the teeth.
Give them more.
You can buy guns in South Africa, and they do.
Give them more. Hey, listen,
they have plenty.
Listen, we arm Israel. We can arm the Afrikaners too. But the point that I'm trying to make is, I want the borders closed. I want all immigration ended for 70 years. We need to have assimilation in this country. I'm tired of hyphenated Americans. Whenever you go to vote, why should you be able to have ballots in any other language besides English?
You shouldn't.
That is stupid.
I agree.
You shouldn't.
So you have to force people to assimilate.
Driver's license test should be English only. The
100%.
signs are in English.
The signs are in English.
Well, here on the Indian reservation, they actually have
driver's license in Uzbekistan. That sign that you're not going to get an English language of that test.
Yeah. I mean. Again, I want all immigration ended, but period, all of it. And I want to hold our government accountable to actually start making things better for Americans. And the reason why I brought up environmentalism, Ted, Montana's a lot of open space. Well, okay, great. You start going in and you start building a bunch of new homes and things. What happens to the environment? Does global warming not matter anymore?
I don't want to build anything new. I want to rehab all the abandoned farmhouses and abandoned apartment buildings and abandoned row houses throughout the United States, and I want to rehab them for Americans and for homeless people and for basically, I want to rehab those. I don't understand why we build any new housing at all in a country with 20 million abandoned houses. I don't get it. I don't understand. That's an environmental thing. Reuse, right. Exactly. Reusing is really important. When I buy a car, I drive that car until it dies a dog's death.
Me too.
I don't buy a new car every couple of years like my dad used to do. It's a waste. Or people who get like a new iPhone every year or whatever. It's wasteful. And it is bad for the environment. We have these houses, and not to mention it causes sprawl. Right? I mean, you literally have an inner city full of empty homes and you're building more new houses on the outskirts of that city. Why would you do that?
Repurpose. Well, Baltimore's actually working on rehabbing a bunch of these old abandoned row houses, there's whole swaths of Baltimore that are completely, you got like one resident in the span of like 8 city blocks of abandoned row houses.
What the hell?
Then you get Jared Kushner buying basically a townhouse kind of.
Yeah, it's like a modest working class kind of they're side by side townhouses.
Yeah, they're next to each other, like they have shared walls. Mm-hmm. So it's like an apartment, but they're floor to ceiling, top to bottom. You know that's your house.
It's all yours.
You have a front yard. Yeah,
gotcha.
And then you just share neighboring walls. That's a row house, and you get like a front yard. You get a little bit of a backyard, but
maybe a porch.
I point out, maybe a porch. As in New York they call them brownstones. Maybe you've heard that term. But with regard to Baltimore, there are city plans that are trying to rebuild and try to reuse these old row homes.
It's so great.
But what should we call him? Jared Kushner has a real estate company, surprise, surprise, which by the way, his dad just got pardoned by Trump yesterday, I think, or the day
That's
before.
That's long overdue. That's amazing.
Full pardon.
I assumed that happened in the first term.
No, that just happened like yesterday or the day before.
Man,
but anyway,
if I were Jared, I'd be ornery about that. I married into the family, for Christ's sake. Yeah.
Like, can you pardon my dad now so he can get his license back and do real estate or whatever? But anyway, the Kushners have some real estate venture in Baltimore.
Yeah, and in Gaza.
So I'm a little suspect of that because from my understanding, all the reports I've read in Baltimore is that the Kushner properties are known to be like roach coaches and kind of, yeah. So,
well, I mean, okay, but I mean, obviously everything comes down to execution, but I think you should have to, if you're a developer, you should have to, if you want to build a new house, you should have to demonstrate, that there is no empty abandoned property anywhere nearby.
That's fair. But anyway, that's where, I don't know, we got off, we went on a tangent about the TPS people, but no, I'm not for taking anybody into my fucking house, Robbie. I wouldn't take you in my house or Ted.
Then why would you take them in? Then why would you take these strangers into your country? Because ultimately that's a much bigger problem.
My point is, if you're going to give anybody TPS, give it to people who actually need it, who are in threat of being murdered. The 300,000 Venezuelans were not in any danger of being murdered by Nicolas Maduro, is my point.
I agree with that completely. I don't know that I even believe in this program at all, to be honest. I mean, I don't see the purpose of it. I mean, what's the point?
It's two things. One is virtue signaling. Second, if you come here to y'all's the big debate we had last week ago, you come here, you have 2 years, you fire out a baby. Hey, you get to stay. De facto amnesty, baby.
No, you don't get to stay. The kid gets to stay.
Well, again,
then who takes care of the kid?
Clovis.
You throw them all out. But
Clovis, here's your new kitten.
But that's the point, though. That's why they're doing it. That's why they're doing it.
Anyway, we'll leave that there. It's all rolled back. I think TPS is over, and I don't know if Congress is going to act on that to prevent future attempts by future POTUSes of moving the goalposts.
Congress does nothing.
They're not going to. That's right. They do nothing. So probably
I mean, I do think there's certain kind of. I mean, I guess I would probably, even though I'm anti-militaristic, but I kind of think if you are like an Afghan traitor and you worked for U.S. occupation forces against your own country, and then we flee, you probably have pretty good reason to think that, you're going to be killed. You probably should be killed. And then like, as from an Afghan point of view, and like as the invading, occupying fascist oppressors, we should probably take our traitors back with us, as part of the deal. Like, we'll save your gross, slimy, treasonous ass and bring you back to America with us. That probably seems like something we should do.
Well, how about you betray your country, you pay the price?
Well,
I mean,
okay, but like but when we're the agents of treason, like if we recruit you, like let's say we're in the CIA, we recruit
the key word is recruit.
As a Russian. Let's say we recruit a Russian agent. We recruit a Russian, and they betray Russia. And the Russians find out, we kind of have to take them in. Like that's how that works.
Why?
Well, like the Afghans who helped us for 20 years.
That's what I just said. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Like
But
that's exactly
the point is, though, is that they had agency. They agreed to this. They understand the terms, and anyone who pays any attention.
Well, the thing is, we tell them though, don't worry. If things go tits up,
that was part of the terms.
That is the
that
term.
was part of the term.
I understand.
That was part of the term.
If we told them,
back then,
oh, by the way, if things go tits up,
you're on your own.
You're SOL. Okay, well, in that case, probably no one would sign up, right?
That's right.
Well, America has a very strong reputation of screwing over every single person that ever helps it. Hello, South Vietnam. Hello, South Korea. Hello, the
Laos.
Kurds. So if you go in and if you make that choice, I don't feel sorry for you.
Oh, I have no sympathy for them at all. At all. None. I mean, they've got everything. They've got it coming for sure.
Yeah,
100%. It's like if they decide to come and kill you, sucks to be you. Yeah. But I think from the standpoint of the U.S. government, which is an imperialist, aggressive, neo-colonialist, capitalist, disgusting power, it's kind of like if they want to recruit like sleazy agents against their own country, they're going to have to promise like, okay, yeah, well, if when we leave, which we fecklessly always do, we'll bring your rotten, treasonous, untrustworthy butt back with us.
We're not bringing we're not bringing their best when we do that. Sorry, they get to stay.
No, we're really not.
They're not.
Good point.
No,
they're not. No, I mean, I don't trust them at all. I mean,
I know we're going over. So I'll tell you this really quick story. My grandfather, he lied about his age. He joined the army in 1913. So he grew up. He went in with a bunch of old Indian fighters there, and they said that the people he joined the army and he was 9.
What?
And so it happened a lot.
9?
9 years old. He joined the army and then went to France. But anyway,
my grandfather joined the French Merchant Marine. He was 9. Yeah.
That happened a lot. There were no computers back then. I mean, you sign your X and you're
and they just didn't give a shit. Yeah,
not at all. But anyway, like he talked about how he served with a bunch of old Indian fighters from the old West days, and he said that there was nothing worse than an Indian who betrayed his tribe. He said the term cocksucker, that's where it comes from. So once you're a cocksucker, you're always a cocksucker. And so a lot of times that happens.
What's the etymology of it? Why they call cocksucker? Why cocksucker?
Because evidently one of the things they make them do was kiss a chicken. So they made them kiss a cock. So that was where it came from.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so that's why they would do it, just so that you're a complete chicken.
I used to watch Deadwood, and they said that word a lot, and I was like, why are they always saying cocksucker? I don't know.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you, Robbie. I love that.
They make the Indians. They make the traders kiss a chicken.
Huh.
That's the thing is like, weird. Yeah, no, like it's kind of like at the end of World War II, all the French ladies who slept with the Nazis had their heads shaved and were stripped nude and paraded through the streets. And I get it, it's like, they were demoralizing.
Times, boys.
It was demoralizing. I mean, they shouldn't have done it, but they were demoralizing and like they were traitors,
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
all right.
No sympathy.
We'll leave that there. All right. Producer Robbie, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. That is going to do it for us here on the TMI Show. Make sure you tune back in tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time because, that's when we be doing this thing live. producer Robbie, we need to check with you. Do we have another sponsor we need to get to before we say goodbye? Okay. We are free and clear to go. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be back tomorrow. Adios, amigos. Thanks for being here. Bye.
Bye.